I'm Brock Yates along with Steve Evans and Bob Fry. We're back at the Western Auto Nationals at Topeka, Kansas for more round 2 action in Pro Stock. And Steve, I'll tell you what, the last thing the Pro Stock guys wanted was another Johnson. They've got Warren, and now Kurt is in the league, and he's giving everybody trouble as well.
Absolutely. Kurt Johnson has been a finalist 3 times this year, has been beaten all 3 times by his father, and that scenario could happen here again as they are qualified 1 and 2. But Mark PAWUK may have something to say about that. Mark won the Motocraft Ford Nationals in Arizona in his Oldsmobile from Ohio. Kurt Johnson remembers that race very well. He got upside down and completely destroyed a $50,000 Pro Stock automobile. But he has recovered from that, obviously. He has the favored lane in the Torco Oldsmobile. Mark PAWUK, well, let's see how the bump dip affects his Summit Racing Oldsmobile. 2,350 pounds, about 1,300 horsepower, 5-speed trannies, 114 octane racing gasoline. It's your car on steroids. The motor's up. Kurt Johnson a little advantage. But look at Mark PAWUK. Johnson sliding around the racetrack, and PAWUK, only our second big-time winner in the right-hand lane, and Mark did it with a 737 to a losing 739. They both had identical top speeds at 187.38 miles an hour. What a beauty.
Oh, it was excellent. Kurt Johnson just a wink quicker off the line, but right here, you see PAWUK start to really hook it up in the near lane, and he drives right around Kurt Johnson to win it. Here you see PAWUK overcome the bump and keep it straight while Kurt Johnson gets a little squirrely there, heads toward the center line, keeps it under control, but loses by that much. Steve's with the winner.
Well, Mark, it took a cowboy to divide the forces of the Johnsons. That hasn't happened in a while. Good job.
Thank you, Steve. You know, we've been kind of struggling again like last year. It's been several races since we've been past first round. And
tell us about this race.
This race is a tough one. It was a heck of a race. I think we were pretty close off starting line, and I was waiting for Kurt to move on me, and it looked like he had trouble in the middle of the track, and that's when I gained on him. And our Dave Butner tune, Dart Head, Olds Cutlass was just flying, and we're real happy for everybody.
737 to a 39.
I'll take it. Finally.
Okay, let's see how Scott Geoffrion is going to go as he backs up with the Mopar Dodge against Mark Osborne. Theoretically, Steve Evans, this would be a layup. He's got the good lane with lane choice against Osborne, but based on what Mark did to Kurt Johnson, who can tell?
Well, Mark Osborne already has one big upset to his credit, and that was Vince Corey in round number 1. Watching PAWUK has to give him some confidence. Now, Scott Geoffrion drives the shorter wheelbase Dodge Daytona. It is a challenge on any racetrack. And for Scott to get to the final round here, he's going to have to keep that left-hand lane. He could not possibly survive the right lane. Mark Osborne, longer wheelbase car, just like Mark PAWUK, he might be able to. Oh, Osborne has problems. Scott Geoffrion is gone, but not too rapidly. Only a 740 at 187 miles an hour for Scott Geoffrion. We'll have to see if that 740 is enough for lane choice, because Scott will race the winner of the next pair on the starting line.
And this man is the current King Kong of Pro Stock competition, Warren Johnson. Low qualifier here, low ET in the first round. Has won 5 events so far this year. Has been #1 qualifier in every event except one. What else can I say? And poor Lewis Worden has the dubious distinction of facing him. He's got the bad lane, and he has his work cut out for him. But first, let's go to Steve.
Well, Scott, the time slip wasn't one for the scrapbook. The important thing is we're talking and you're moving ahead.
Yeah, you know, these all important Winston points, and that's what we're here after. And round by round, we'll just keep taking them as they come.
How tough is this track for a Pro Stock car? Tougher than the fuel cars?
Boy, it's pretty tough, let me tell you. I couldn't see straight in 3rd and 4th gear. It was just a big blind sight out there.
Just hang on.
Well, let's see whether or not he's going to face Warren Johnson or Lewis Worden. And I'll tell you what, if Worden wins this one, it's going to be the upset of the century.
That's right, and it'll shock Warren Johnson right to his knees, I can guarantee you that. The defending Winston champion. Lewis Worden out of Festus, Missouri. Big, strong, athletic-looking kid, and you can bet he'll be gunning for any advantage he can get here. Now, Mark PAWUK may have driven a little further in low gear, or a little further in 2nd gear to conquer this so-called bad lane. You can bet that Lewis Worden was watching very intently. Let's see if he can make it click, too. Johnson will not be pushing the tree. He's got everything in his hand. All the aces. Oh, but Warden does push the tree in too hard. He red lights away any shot he might have had, but still, what a fight he put up. A 739 in the bad lane, but that is, of course, wiped out by the red light. Warren Johnson has lane choice now over Scott GEOFFRION, 731, 189 miles an hour. The Johnson juggernaut continues.
So if Scott GEOFFRION had a bumpy ride in the good lane, he better hold on to his fillings because he's got the bump against Warren Johnson in the final four. The other pairing, Mark PAWUK against Larry Morgan, two Oldsmobiles. That's going to be interesting. Larry Morgan has the lane choice.
Well, even the mighty Warren Johnson couldn't get in the 720s on this track in this heat. 731.
Oh, it was terrible out there. We were just sliding and fishtailing all over. I mean, it probably felt like a funny car that's loose out there because, I mean, I was driving that thing the last half of that racetrack. I was just hanging on for dear life.
Has this become a driver's race more than horsepower now?
Well, early on I predicted it's going to be a tuner's race to start with, but now it's a combination of the two.
Well, Johnson being the tuner and the driver on that car, he can handle both jobs. As Gordy Bonnet's crew gets ready to face him off against Cruz Pedregon in the funny car final four. That coming up and lots more.
We're back in Topeka with the big guns, the Nitro Cannons. Kenny Bernstein up against Eddie Hill in the final four. You're riding with a man who's very concerned, as is his crew chief, not only about the men he has to face, Eddie Hill, about dropping cylinders. And what they mean is the spark plugs just don't fire the fuel. And that crippled cylinder goes along for the ride, and the other 7 have to support it. And the hotter it gets, the more humid it gets, the harder it is to get these magnetos, as giant as they are. They call them Magzillas. And there's 2 of them on each engine with 16 spark plugs and still can't fire that volume of fuel. And that's what Dale Armstrong hopes that he has solved. Kenny Bernstein, on the other hand, hopes that he can put that horsepower to the ground in a lane that has been, well, highly criticized, would be kind.
It's going to be interesting to see as we look over the shoulder of Eddie Hill. There's his wife, Percy, getting him in a position he's getting ready to stage. He obviously is going to be pretty conservative here because he knows all the burden of running well is on Kenny Bernstein.
And there you see it. Kenny Bernstein sees it as well. Eddie Hill goes to the final round with another very nice 498, 277 miles an hour. Bernstein dropping cylinders again. Let's go to Bob Fry with Fuzzy.
A mildly popular win, I would say.
Yeah, we just hopped it up just a little bit. The track actually got better, and it's looking real good, so the final should be a real good drag race.
Now, the obvious question, lane choice seems to be the deciding factor.
Yeah, the left lane is the best. You seen on Bernstein's car, as it went over a hump down there, it kicked the tire, so, you know, that hurt him real bad.
All right, take a look at Bernstein's car here in the left lane. You will see, even though he has a better reaction time, the raw fuel pouring out of that right side header, that is unignited nitromethane, and that means a loss of what, 600-700 horsepower, and that of course spells the defeat for Kenny Bernstein and moves Eddie Hill with a beautifully consistent 498 into the finals. Let's go to Steve.
You are one lucky guy. The burst panel on the blower is pushed out just as you made the turn.
I see that. That's why oh, did it pop out down here?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, well, red car for a long ways, but I thought I had the finish line first, and man, it feels good. That's great for us in the points deal. We really needed that.
A 498, about what you thought?
We were shooting for a 497, but we'll take a 98.
I wouldn't fight you for a 100th of a second. Great job.
Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you what, either one of these guys will take a 498. That is Joe Amato, and he has got what we call the bad lane, or the less good lane here at Topeka, Steve. And he's going against Scott KALITTA, who is showing all kinds of strength today.
We just received some data from some of our spies in the pits. It is hotter now than it was the previous round. The track temperatures are even worse. The tire temperatures at the other end are 10 degrees up, so things have not cooled one bit here in Topeka. Joe Amato knows that as he tries to restrain his 5,000 horsepower with a handbrake. You see the blue glove on it. Amato will be carrying our onboard camera. Scott KALITTA, who has qualified #1 so many times this year, he would trade all of those for one win. You heard him say that at the top of the show. That's KALITTA over the far lane, the red car. His dad, Connie, here looking on along with crew chief Dick LaHaye. Amato with a better light, no surprise there. AMATO dropping more cylinders than Bernstein did. And you can clearly see that you just lost riding with Joe AMATO. Scott KALITTA falls off. Not a big surprise either, considering the weather stats we just told you, to a 5:09 at 277.
Gee, I can tell by the excitement on your face you're happy to be in the finals, but you can't be pleased with that performance.
Well, when it left the start line, it put a cylinder on. That was on 7 cylinders, so we make a run on 8 cylinders, and it'll be just fine.
And the obvious question now is, can you win on the right side of the track?
Well, we set low 18, qualified #1 over there, so we're going to give it our best shot. That's all we can do.
Look at that smiling face. They're in the finals.
So as former Winston champion Dick LaHaye heads back to the pits in search of that lost cylinder, let's take another look at this race. Joe AMATO in the left lane cuts a near perfect light of 4:18, but suddenly a whole bunch of cylinders start to go away on him and leave Scott KALITTA with a really very easy victory, but not enough to give him lane choice in the finals at a 5:09. So that is a disappointing pass in a way for Scott. He will be in the dreaded right lane against Eddie Hill with an excellent 498 against a 509. So Scott KALITTA's work cut out for him here at Topeka.
Well, Scott, you've made the final round, but you know Eddie Hill is going to be a huge handful when you get there.
Yeah, you haven't told me what I ran yet, so that's going to make a little bit of a difference. I know I wasn't quite flat.
Wasn't enough for lane choice. 09.
Come on, it slowed down, yeah. Okay, well, we put another blower on it and so forth just to get another one on. Well, the other one we stripped at the last run, so we'll put it back on and, you know, go after it.
And the big asset is Dick LaHaye in his camp. Thanks, Scott.
All right, that is Larry Morgan's pro stock car, that vivid purple automobile. He is going to go against Mark PAWUK in the pro stock Final Four. Stick with us from Topeka.